what is love? Love is our greatest commandment and our highest priority. This is love. Love is giving honor where honor is due. Love is choosing to believe the best in others. Love is catching people doing things right. This is love. Love is staying awake when you'd rather be asleep, serving when you'd rather be served, and listening when you'd rather be heard. This is love. Sometimes love is rejoicing with those who rejoice. Sometimes love is mourning with those who mourn. Love is showing up, speaking up, and standing up for others. Love is helping someone who can never pay you back, keeping a promise even when it hurts. Love is beautiful and love is powerful. This is love. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love never fails. Greater love has no one than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. This is love. Not that we loved God, but that He loved us and sent His Son as a sacrifice for us. This is love.
So tonight we are finishing up our series on relationships and dating and love and all of that good stuff. And so again, I just want to say, I've said this every single week. Stick with me. Some of you I know are not dating, not interested in dating. Some of you I know are already dating. But what we talk about, what we have talked about this month, what we will talk about tonight is so important. It's so important as you guys, as middle school and high school students, navigate this thing called dating. And so hang with me, don't zone out, stick with me through this because God has something for you. At the beginning of the month, we started talking about this whole idea of what type of person do you want to date. And I encouraged you guys to simply do this. Sit down and spend some solid time thinking about the type of person you want to date. Not physical attributes, but just like the deep stuff. And start making a list. And then last week, we talked about guarding our hearts and how we can take that list and we can set up some boundaries for ourselves in this world of dating. And those boundaries can be used as directions for us to help us guard our hearts and help us navigate through this thing called dating. And there's one other thing I want to talk about with you guys this month before we finish out this series, and it's this. Be patient. Be patient as you wait for the right person. Be patient as you look for the right person. At our house, we have a home water filtration system thingy. And every 6 to 8 months, we have to get under the kitchen sink and we have to change a couple filters on this home water filtration system thingy. It's not super hard. You have to unscrew a filter and then screw the new filter back in and turn it back on. Everything's good to go. And so a couple years ago, I think it was a couple years ago, probably 2 or 3 years ago, it was time to change the filters. And so I got my bag, I went over, I turned the water off to our house, and I got my bag, and I wasn't 100% sure what I was doing, but I was 99% sure what I was doing. And Kirsten saw the look in my eyes of I was faking that I knew what I was doing. I was pretty sure I knew what I was doing. And so she looked at me and she just said, CJ, you know what you're doing, right? And I was like, oh yeah, I know what I'm doing. Like I've done it before. The guy showed me. I've got it. I think I remember. I'm good to go. And so I grabbed my bag. I shut off the water and I'm headed toward the kitchen. And she said one thing that was really, really important. She said this. She said, CJ, are you sure you don't want to watch a video on how to do this? Now, in that moment, I faced a fork in the road for what my day would look like. Well, not day, what the next 15, 20 minutes would look like. I had two options. I could go back to the closet. So our kitchen is here, and you have to walk kind of around the counter and over to our front door. And in the coat closet by our front door is where you turn the water on and off. So I could walk the 20 feet back and turn the water back on so everybody could have some water in the house while I watched this video. Then I could look up a video, and then I could watch the video to make sure that I was doing it right. And then I could go back over and I could turn the water back off, and then I could go back and get the job done and make sure I was doing it right. That's option number one. Option number two was, I'm pretty sure I know what I'm doing. I think I remember it right. And I could get the job done much faster because I'm already, I already got the water off, and I'm already here at the kitchen ready to go. And so I could just go ahead and do it. Now, one path is going to require me to be patient. It's going to require me to not get the job done as fast and slow down, which is really, really hard for me. I'm not going to lie, guys. It's hard for me to slow down. Like, when I am on to let's get something done, like, I'm ready to get that thing done. And this is going to require me to slow down. Now, granted, we're talking like 5-10 minutes slow down. In the huge scheme of things, it's not a whole lot, but it requires patience. The other path is I could just go ahead and get it done. Like, I could jump in. I'm pretty sure I know what I'm doing. I could jump in and get it done. There's a fork in the road. And I think a lot of times we face a very similar fork in the road when it comes to dating. Now hear me, you can never be 100% certain that the person that you are about to date is the correct person for you. It's just not going to happen. You can't be 100% certain. But there is something to be said for being patient in dating as we wait for the right person and as we search for the right person. This week, I want to jump back into 1 Corinthians chapter 13. We've been there this month. It's the chapter that you hear at weddings all the time. Love is patient, love is kind, all of that good stuff. In 1 Corinthians 13, Paul is describing love. And then he goes into this list of what love is. So Paul has just said, love is super important. We have to love people. This has to be a part of what we do. And then he starts, here's what love is. And the first thing he said is, love is patient. Now, love is patient. First word he uses to describe love. This is just from my own brain. I have absolutely no idea if Paul did this intentionally or if Paul was just creating a list and that patient word just ended up first. If Paul used the word patient first, that says a lot about what love is. If it was random and Paul didn't intend to use the word patient to describe love first, what that tells me is that even if it was random, one of the first things that Paul thought of when he thought about love was patience. Love and patience go hand in hand. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, CJ, okay, but when Paul is saying love is patient, it's like when you love somebody, you're going to be patient with them. All right, I will give you that. When Paul wrote this, he was saying love is patient, and we have to be patient with the people that we love. However, patience is a part of love. And if we can be patient in finding a healthy person to date and to love, then love is patient takes on a whole different meaning. Patience is important in love. It's a huge part of what love is. A huge part of experiencing a healthy version of love is having the patience with yourself to wait for the right person. Now, when I say that, I'm not saying don't date. Hear me, this is really important. The patience to wait for someone healthy to come along. All right? We have to have the patience with ourselves. We have to love ourselves enough. We talked about that a little bit last week. We have to love ourselves enough And if love is patient, we're going to be patient with ourselves to say, I'm going to wait for a healthy person to come along for me to date. Love is patient. It's so huge, and it's a huge part of experiencing and navigating the world of dating in a very healthy way. It's so, so important that we take our time and we make sure we wait for someone healthy to come along. So let me ask you this. What does it look like to be patient as we wait for the right person? What does it look like to be patient? Like, that's cool, CJ, be patient, that's really important, but at the end of the day, what are some really practical ways that we can be patient as we wait for the right person? And I think there are two really, really important things that are not nearly talked about enough in the realm of dating and relationships that are so important as we begin to navigate this world of dating that you guys can begin to apply to yourselves that I think would be super helpful in this area of patience. The first one is this. The first one is be confident and be comfortable being you. Be confident and be comfortable being you. We have to be comfortable with ourselves. We have to be comfortable being the people that God created us to be. There is no one else in this entire earth that is like you. We mentioned earlier this month the verse in Ephesians 2:10. It says, you are God's accomplishment. God looked at you and he said, when he was finished dropping your heart and your personality into your body, he looked at you and he said, wow, what an accomplishment. And so often, I think what happens is, in this world of dating, we tend to say, yeah, I'm cool, but I'll be complete when I have someone else. The whole phrase, you complete me, that's kind of a lie. Like, you are complete just because God created you to be you. You are whole just because God created you as his incredible accomplishment to be the person that you were created to be. You don't need anyone else to complete you. You don't need anyone else to make you whole. And the cool thing is this, that when we begin to say, all right, I'm going to focus and be comfortable being me, that when you enter into a dating relationship, it's suddenly not someone else is making you whole. It's suddenly two whole people living lives together. Two complete people living life together. But so often what we do is we say, I will be whole, I will be complete when I engage in a relationship with someone else. And what that requires us to do is, instead of being patient and taking the road where we kind of figure out who we are, we allow ourselves to become enwrapped in someone else. We kind of jump into things really fast because, let's be honest, the dating world, when I was in middle school and high school, dating was exciting. Like, I was excited to date someone. And it can lead to this thing where we jump into a relationship because we think someone else is going to complete us, someone else is going to make us whole, and we take this road where it's quicker and we think we know what we're doing. But God says, you are an accomplishment. And the first way that we can slow down, the first way that you guys can begin to navigate this world of dating with patience is simply this: to be comfortable being who you are. God created you as this incredible creation. And you can take a moment and you can celebrate that. And you can be comfortable being you. And when you are comfortable being you and you are whole and complete, you can begin to step into healthier relationships. Again, hear me, go ahead and date. But don't date for the sake of someone completing you, because that just doesn't happen. Date for the sake of you are a whole person and you find someone else that is a whole person, and it's just two whole people doing life together. So important. Figure out who you are and just be comfortable with that. Second thing is this. What does it look like to be patient as you wait for the right one? Stick to your boundaries. Stick to your boundaries. Boundaries are so important. But sometimes we tend to let our boundaries slip because of the excitement of dating someone. We tend to let our boundaries slip because, oh, he's interested in me, or, oh man, I think she would say yes if I asked her out. And we begin to let our boundaries slip. If we can have patience and we can stick to our boundaries, yes, it may mean that we have less relationships, dating relationships. But the dating relationships that we have will be healthier. And healthier relationships are what we're striving for. Healthier relationships are going to be better for you guys in the long run as you experience this world called dating. It's so important that we stick to our boundaries. It's so important that we know who we are and we are comfortable with who we are. Tonight, I want to give you a piece of advice that Kirsten and I have given just a few people in our lives, not very many, because it's one of those pieces of advice that we only give to people when they ask for it. And oftentimes what this looks like is someone has come to us and they are in a relationship or they are about to go into a relationship and they're saying, all right, I'm not sure if this person is right for me, or they're in a relationship and they're like, man, I really think I should leave this relationship, but I don't know if I can be alone. I don't know if I leave this relationship, if I will ever find the right person. And do you hear what's going on when those conversations are happening? Someone is scared to be alone because they're not comfortable with themselves. So they're willing to engage in an unhealthy relationship. Someone is letting their boundaries slip and be in an unhealthy relationship because they are afraid to be alone. And Kirsten and I have sat down at various times. Her or I have sat across from someone and we have looked them in the eye and we have said this. You will never find the right person when you're dating the wrong person. You will never find the right person when you're dating the wrong person, because you're already in a relationship with someone. It's tough to find a healthy relationship with someone when you're already in an unhealthy relationship with someone else. And so we face this fork in the road often in this area of dating, where we can take this road where we are patient and we slow down and we take our time, or we can kind of just jump into things. And I assume it's the same way now as it was when I was in high school and middle school, but we tend to just jump into things. I faced the fork in the road that day sitting in our kitchen. I could take my time and I could be patient, or I could just jump into things. And I think you guys probably know where this is headed. I told Kirsten, I got this. I know what I'm doing. It's not going to be a problem. I remember how this goes. I got this. And so I opened up the sink and I knelt down and I went to go unscrew the first filter, and I unscrewed it, and immediately water started spewing everywhere. I mean, everywhere. And like, I'm screaming for everybody, grab me towels, grab me towels, grab me towels. And I'm like, okay, maybe I didn't shut off the water right. Kirsten, go shut off the water. She's like, I don't know how to shut off the water. And so I'm like, and water is like flooding our kitchen. It's going all over our counters. It's going all over our floors. It's going underneath our stove. Clark is standing in the living room. She's like, why didn't you watch the video? You should have watched the video. And I'm like, I know. So I run around the kitchen, back to our front door, and I open the door where I thought I'd shut off the water. Turns out I'd turned it to yellow, which I thought was like a bypass, and it wasn't, obviously. I needed to turn it to red. You would think red means stop. That's pretty obvious. My brain was not working that day. So I turned it to red really fast, and water just spewed out, and it is covered. Like, I am covered, I am drenched, the floor is drenched, I have tons of soaking towels everywhere. It is just a mess. It's a mess. And isn't that sometimes what happens to us in dating? Like, we think we know what we're doing, and we jump in, and all of a sudden, like, a little bit down the road, we look around at ourselves, and we're not sitting in a puddle of water, but we're sitting in a mess. What do we do then? Here's the beauty about what Jesus says about us and about what we can do in this world called dating. Because I think a lot of times what we do when this happens in our dating lives is we begin to allow that to define us. We begin to say things like, man, I will never have a healthy marriage now. We begin to say things like, I have messed up too much. I will never recover from this. Man, there's so much damage now inside me that I'm not going to be able to have a good relationship with my husband. I'm not going to be able to have a good relationship with my wife because I'm too damaged. But here's the beauty about what Jesus does and about the truth about relationships is this. There's healing. You're not damaged beyond repair. You're just not. And I think for too long, the church has promoted this message that if you mess up, well, that's the end. You just messed up everything for your entire future. That's never what Jesus said. Jesus said, I came to bring you life. I came to bring you healing. I came to bring you hope. And I came to help you. That day sitting in the kitchen, you know what I did? I didn't just throw up my hands and be like, well, our kitchen is now destroyed. No. What I did was I went and got a whole bunch of towels and I mopped everything up under the counter and I mopped up our floor and I got the water out from under our stove and out from under our cabinets and out from under our dishwasher. I washed all the towels and I dried the towels and I folded the towels. I got the filters replaced and I changed the filters and I threw away the old filters. I put the cover back on the filtration system. I closed the cabinet doors. I turned back on the water. I turned the water on in our faucet. And we had water. And the mess was cleaned up. And here's the thing, is that in these dating relationships, our emotions are so involved that we tend to think the worst. And Jesus comes alongside us and he says, I'm just going to help you clean it up. I'm just going to help you clean it up. And you know what? We're going to start over. We're going to start over setting boundaries. We're going to start over guarding our hearts. And you're going to move forward. And guess what? Your wounds are going to heal. Time is going to pass. Things are going to get better. And down the road, you have not destroyed anything. You can still have an incredible and healthy marriage. You can still have incredible, healthy dating relationships. Don't define yourself by your mistakes or your messes, because your mistakes do not define you. Your messes do not define you. They don't define you, and they don't define your future. Jesus just helps us clean up the mess, and he helps us start over. So that the next time we jump into a relationship, the next time I go to change the water filters, I know what I'm doing. I know how to turn the water off now, not yellow, red. We know how to jump into relationships now. We set some boundaries. We know how to be comfortable with ourselves, and we're going to be comfortable with ourselves before we jump into a relationship. And Jesus helps us clean up the mess, and then he says, all right, Let's do this thing a new way. Let's do it in a healthy form and fashion. Hear me. For too long, the church has said, if you mess up, you've ruined everything. That's a lie. That's a lie. We can move into a new way to date where we are patient and we face a fork in the road and we take the patient way. And we can have healthy relationships and we can put the past behind us, and in the future we can have a healthy marriage. It's so important that you guys understand that. So important. One more thing to say. And this goes along with the idea of being comfortable with yourself. And this is really, 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 really important. So this is one of the reasons I left it to last. I want to make sure you hear this. Being comfortable with yourself is one of the most important things that you can do for your dating relationships. And it's one of the most important things that you can do for yourself. Because here's the truth. You are complete being you. Some of you will grow up and you will find someone else that is also a whole person, and you will do life two whole people together. Some of you may grow up and you may stay single. And you may be a whole person doing life single with friendships and other relationships. Both ways are incredible ways to do life. Don't fall into the trap that you need someone to make you whole. Jesus is the one that makes you whole. Jesus is the one that makes you complete. Jesus is the one that gives you life. He said it best, and I don't have this in the slides, but he said it best in John 10:10. I came to give you life and give it abundantly. He is the one that truly gives you life. And so I want to encourage you guys, take the patient road. Take the patient road. The patient road for you may lead to a relationship with someone. A patient road for you may lead to a whole bunch of friendships and a single life. Both are okay. Both are fantastic. A fantastic way to do life. And so I want to give you a couple practical ways that we can take the patient road as we think about dating and relationships. The first one is this: create a list. If you haven't created a list yet, create your list. Look at it. Ask yourselves the deep questions. What type of person do I want to date? Grab the list off the free table. Fill it out. There's all kinds of blanks. There's some questions that you can ask yourself to get your mind started on what you want your future relationships to look like. Create a list. Second thing, if you haven't done this yet, use that list to create some boundaries for your dating life, for your dating world. Create some boundaries. Here's the type of person I'm going to date, and so here's the type of person I'm not going to date. This type of person seems healthy to me, so I'm going to avoid this type of person. Third thing is this. Answer the question, what do I love about who I am? What do I love about who I am? And come up with as many answers as you can. And if you have trouble with this question right here, and you are super excited about dating, here's what I want to encourage you to do. Be comfortable being single for a while. Figure out who you are. Figure out what you like. Figure out where God has gifted you. Be comfortable being you and be able to answer this question, what do I love about who I am? And then take what you love about who you are, and when you're ready and you've been single and you're comfortable being you, then you can take what you love about who you are and combine it with what someone else loves about who they are. And it's two whole people together. It's not someone else completing you. Make a list, set some boundaries, answer the question, what do I love about who I am? It's so, so important. Trust me, if I had just watched the video and had known what I was doing, changing the water filters would have taken 5 minutes. I thought I was getting it done faster, and it ended up taking me an hour. When we're dating, take the patient path. Jump into healthy relationships. It will be better for you in the long run. Let me pray for you. God, thank you so much for tonight and the chance to be here.